Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to episode 3 of ND Social. I'm your host, Dylan Yeager, and
I'm your co-host, Michael Huntington.
our guest today is an Iowa actress, director, writer, hairstylist, and makeup artist. She made her first big appearance in the short film No Reply, and since then starred in multiple films such as Bedside, Breathless, and Waste of Time, and the web series Saving Grace, just to name a few. She is also the writer, director, producer, and star of White Flash. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is Amanda Bean.
Okay. Hey, Amanda, how you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. Thanks for asking.
That's awesome. Yeah, so let's all talk about how we all first met each other.
Right, yeah, so Amanda, Michael, and I know each other personally. We're all close friends here. For me, I met Amanda when she posted a casting call on Facebook for her film White Flash. I saw that it was going to be a vampire movie, and I grew up being a huge fan of vampires thanks to my father. And so my personal favorite vampire movie is Queen of the Damned. So in my mind, White Flash was going to be about the sexy vampire. And I messaged Amanda, not knowing who she was at the time. And I was like, yes, I want to be in your vampire movie. Do you have any vampire roles? And she's like, oh, I got the perfect role for you. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks. So can you send me the script? And she's like, just show up tomorrow. And so I had difficulties trying to find her house, and yeah, I walked around her neighborhood for quite some time. I was probably about an hour late. And Amanda, what was your first impression when you met me?
Yeah, so I talked about first meeting Dylan, and I was like kind of concerned that he was going to kill me because he's so passionate about acting. He was sending me interviews of killers that would, that they did interviews on. They did like mass murders and stuff like that, and he was trying to get into the head of psychopaths. What was your first initial reaction of Dylan? Was it different from mine?
It was different.
Okay.
When Dylan first showed up, I'm sure he was like, why is she wearing a men's robe right now? But I was like, oh, this guy seems really like nice and just friendly.
Yeah, so completely different from mine.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah.
And then when I was on set, I was like, or when we were filming and stuff like that, I was like, wow, he's really good. I mean, we were just really impressed.
Wasn't that really pretty much improv, right?
There was, for me at least, there was no script. The whole thing was improvised, which was really cool. It was a little nerve-wracking because I used to do improv in high school, but yeah, that was a long time ago. I'm getting old, and. So yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking, but we made it work. And yeah, I played her nerdy conspiracy theorist brother. I was not a vampire,
unfortunately.
But it's completely fine. It's such a fun movie to watch, and her passion and dedication. That we'll go into a little more detail here as we're going on with the show. But yeah, Amanda, the whole thing was it was filmed on your iPhone. So how did you? Tell us a little bit, like, why did you go about it the way you did?
Yeah, so, like, what motivated you? Was there any film that you saw that, like, they made an iPhone movie and you're like, well, if they can do it, I can do it?
I watched a lot of Film Riot, which is all about, it's not about what you have, it's about what you do with what you have.
Yeah, so very independent, like, make movies because you can make movies, you have the ability to do so.
Yeah, especially if you didn't grow up with a lot of money and resources, then you're kind of like, but I got this new phone. And originally I had got a new iPad, and I made like a 1-minute film that entered into a Film Riot contest. And then after that, I got a new iPhone, which was iPhone 8 Plus, which they make their commercials off of that phone. So I thought, well, if they can make a commercial, then I could probably do that. And then I saw the movie Tangerine, which was a Sundance Film Festival winner, and they made their movie off of an iPhone 5S, which was like worse quality.
Right.
So I thought, why not?
Yeah.
So I ordered a bunch of camera lenses, and I put together a storyboard, and then after that it became improv.
You're like, screw the script, we're going to improv it. And it turned out really cool. It's still like one of my favorite things you've been in, just because I just love the way that your camera angles were. I thought they were so cool and very unique. It wasn't like standard or anything like that. It was like they were like weird angles, but angles that really worked with the story. So I thought it was really cool. I know that you have your opinions about it, but I really love it. truly. And I think it was edited really well. Who edited the film?
It was Michael Gordon.
Yes, yeah, he edited it. He did a really great job. And how many festivals has it been in?
I think it's actually just been in one right now, which is Halloween Palooza. So
No, was that a Snake Eye?
No, it was
this
not
year?
Snap. It was
Oh.
Snap. Yeah, remember? We
You
were
were
all
there.
there.
We
Oh,
were.
yeah.
We had quite
You
a
got
few
on stage.
drinks that day, so
Oh, yeah,
it's
I got
very
on stage and
understandable
just
if we
totally-
forgot.
yeah, I butchered my speech. I blacked that one out.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So it's been in
Embarrassing.
2. Has it won anything?
No, just basically like my own accord. Like,
It won a lot of people's hearts.
Yeah, there we go.
That's all that
There we
matters.
go.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all the trophies I've won, they're just like, door stoppers for me.
Yeah, it's
this is
so many. Yeah, so you directed your own film. To like take it back a little further, at what point did you start acting? Were you in high school acting or?
I started acting when I was in 5th grade.
Okay.
And then I pretty much did that along with like tap dance to break, like, what's that song? My Achy Breaky Heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah, little tap dance to that. My
Little
sister
tap
just
dance.
texted me about that. She's like, "Remember when you dressed like a cowgirl and danced to that?" But I basically grew up in schools of the arts, and I was pretty much not good at very much other than art. So I started doing that, and then middle school is when Playtime Poppies started. Started doing those. And then
Playtime Poppy. What is that? Is that like?
It's like where that guy dresses in that big corn outfit, like a big, huge corn guy.
I don't.
And he walks around, and then it's like kind of like Disney spoofs.
I don't know, man. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
What school did you go to?
I went to Johnson, Franklin, Washington.
Was that here, all in Iowa? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And then in Washington is
Never
when
really-
I did Playtime Poppies, too. Yeah.
Do you think they still do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I definitely was never a lead. I was always like Flounder in Ariel
Okay. Okay.
because I was more insecure back then.
So I know you do a lot of films now. After like school and all that, did you ever you pursued theater, right? You did a little bit of theater. Was that out of high school?
So out of high school, I kind of dropped the whole arts thing for a while and was like, I might as well just do telemarketing.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
little different from.
Kind of
See, and that's
similar in some ways.
I feel like a lot of us have that same story. Like we were going back on the past couple episodes we had where like, were you kind of like pressured into getting a real safe job because your dream was unrealistic?
My mom was more the type that I would say that was like, don't go to college. It's a waste of money. Get in
Yeah,
sales.
well, yeah, her mom is very much creative herself, right? Doesn't she like run her own art shop and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So if anything, she probably would have been supportive, right, of kind of pursuing the artsy
Yeah.
a little bit. Sure, okay.
Was it just like the rest of society though? Like, well, because it's real easy for people to kind of
Well-
like shun your dream.
My first film I did was a film called Eden. And my mom was very much like, you should be a producer and not an actress.
Oh no. So she's not so much supportive of the acting aspect,
Yeah.
but
But then she saw that just like anything, the more you do, the better you get.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
now she's like, wow, you're so good. But I think like the growth that people make in the industry is like, really.
yeah, I mean, the more you work, the more you get better, and I'm sure like Dylan, you experience that as well. Like where you see some of your first performances and films and stuff you've been in, and be like, man, if I knew what I know now, I could have done that a little better.
Man, my acting fluctuates like my weight. There's like some of my earlier work I like a little bit more than some of my more recent. I guess for me, my personal struggle is no matter how much work I do, there's that tiny little voice in my head that kind of
Says you're not good enough,
right.
You're not where
and
you need to be.
there's a
or-
couple films that I won't necessarily throw out
Yeah,
there
sure.
because I mean I've had nothing but like positive reviews on my stuff,
Yeah.
but there's a couple things I've done that I'm just not super proud of. Like I wish I went about it differently.
Sure.
But I do agree on the aspect that you do learn from your mistakes,
Yeah.
and the more you do it, the better you're gonna get. But man, I don't want to say I got lazy. Maybe I didn't go about it the way I should have with a couple of my roles.
Sure. So Amanda, what got you back into filming? Like, what what was your short film after Eden? You said. How old were you when you did that? Was that like right out of high school, or was that kind of in your?
No, that was like still in the 20s.
Still in the 20s. So after Eden, did you kind of take a break from acting, or did you like pursue it as hard as you are now?
After Eden, the videographer messaged me and asked me to be in Villanelli.
Oh, okay. And that film, have you seen Villanelli?
I have not.
Oh
not
my
yet.
God, dude, you gotta watch that film. That film is so good. That's how I actually like knew of you, kind of. You sent me that, and I was like, oh my God, this girl is like too good to be in any of my stuff. It's a really good short film. Anybody should totally check that out. So Villanelli, and then after that, was it No Reply? Was that your?
After that was White Flash.
White Flash, okay, got you.
And then was No Reply.
And then we actually met. Do you remember how we met?
I think I sent you my taped audition to No Reply.
Oh, right, because I had a
YouTube.
casting call. Yes, I remember now. Yeah, you sent me all of your information, and then before we actually started filming No Reply, we did the 48-hour film festival.
Yep.
Which is something, we've just did it the second year, but the first year, yeah, that's where we like first actually met, and when I got the chance to meet you, and then we ended up doing No Reply. And that's when we all three kind of worked together out of Dylan's house, his film house.
Something really funny about the whole Amanda getting casted in No Reply. I just got done working with her on White Flash, and I was actually going to recommend Amanda to play the role of Ashley.
Oh, right
and
on.
that same day I was going to message you. You
Announced that she
you
was casted.
messaged me on Facebook saying, "Hey man, we got an Ashley," and I'm like, "Oh, who is it?" And then you sent her headshot, and I was like,
sweet.
"Oh, bro, I was gonna tell you to
hell
totally reach out to her." So
know.
that was really exciting because I was definitely wanting to work with you again after White Flash, and going back to when her and I first met. So I was expecting, something a lot different than what it was, and everything was great. But I was expecting, I was used to a big crew, and it was like she was a one-man army. And I went there, and you answered the door in your robe, and you were like, "Oh, hi, you found it. Come in, come in, come in." And I'm just kind of looking around. So, is there going to be anybody else
Where's
here?
the
And
crew
it's
at?
just you, me, and my dog. And as
what
we
you
were
said, too?
filming, though,
I'm sure.
and when we were filming, you were just going on about how, man, I am the writer, I'm the director, producer, I'm filming it off my phone, I'm the star. Because if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And that's when I was sold and knew that Amanda was a special person in this industry.
And you've kind of been like that the whole time. You've pursued this so heavily, even when people might not think that you should do it, you've done it just because you've always had a passion for it, and I think that's so cool. I think it's so motivational that you didn't have a big fancy camera or a person to do sound or any of that. You just bought the equipment and you did it.
Like with the future projects that I'm working on, that I definitely want to get behind camera too. But it's sometimes hard to be in front of and behind camera.
For sure.
Because
Do you have any like goals of like directing another film or writing another film or?
Yes, I do. I'm working on a film called Golden Chiffon.
Which is something that we've talked on and off on the process of you kind of writing it.
Yeah, and it's
Very Tim Burton-esque, as I would say, kind of a little bit colorful.
Once
crazy
upon a time,
hairstyles.
there was an ugly girl who had big dreams, and everybody doubted her. And her brother had big dreams too, in a different way. And then just kind of like the relationship of brother and sister, and
Kind of pushing through.
yeah, and
all
like
the-
when you see a painting, if you've ever seen a painting and you just instantly connect with a painting, so the love interest doesn't really fall in love with the character first. He falls in love with her drawing and doesn't know it's from her.
Wow, so it's
So-
almost like Cinderella in a way.
Kind of, yeah.
where-
I'm a sucker for the Walt Disney
Yeah, and that's
stuff.
kind of what you said with like what. So who's that actress that you love so much?
Audrey Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburn.
Who doesn't love
Is
her?
that the first person that you like saw acting and you were kind of like, oh my god, she's so beautiful and she's killing it and I want to do that?
Yeah, I think a lot of my childhood was spent escaping through television,
Media and stuff
videos.
like that. Yeah.
My mom worked a lot, and she would work at the library, and so me and my sisters would just rent DVDs and put on the headphones in those little booths. I don't even know if they have those anymore, and we would just watch DVDs with these, and then, you know, you would just pick what the library had. So we watched tons and tons of films all day for probably hours. She would get to pick hers, and then I would pick mine.
And you just kind of like escaped into this world of like, yeah, that's...
One thing I really loved about Audrey Hepburn was, first off, she was gorgeous, but anybody that's like read up on her, she thought that she was hideous. She thought she had a really square face and was extremely gaunt and stuff like that. And I think it's so interesting because, like, as a performer, a successful performer, you do have a lot of power. And she was a huge humanitarian and just donated her like time and energy and everything to good causes. And that like was stuff I found out later. But when I watched her films, I used to just like think like, wow, it's a princess walking around and she's gonna fall in love. And later on, I realized that her and Marilyn Monroe had similar written characters, but their portrayal was so different because even though it was like at that time period with a younger girl falling in love with an older man, it was like Audrey Hepburn made you believe it. Like, she didn't care about how young she was and like who she fell in love with. You believed it. But with Marilyn Monroe, she was more like the young ditzy girlfriend, even though that the verbiage was the same. Thought that was interesting.
So, yeah, a lot of my personal inspirations growing up was like Johnny Depp, and that's for me as an actor. Him kind of like shaping into these different characters was very influential for me because like I share a similar story. You know, I was always like inspired by everything I watched when I was a kid. I was also a gamer, so like. And to this very day, I play video games that are more like story driven, you know, because it's an escape from reality. And I didn't have a terrible childhood by any means, but it was just nice to escape from reality. And then that inspired me to, you know, to be an actor. And to this very day, if I'm just having like a bad day, I just want to make a movie or watch a movie and just kind of leave this realm for a little bit. And is there any, did you pick up any like traits from these actresses that inspired you? Like that you kind of like bring into your personal career?
I mean, I would love to say yeah, but I think she's so untouchable. I just, you know, maybe the Iowa version.
The Iowa version.
The Midwestern version.
So what's kind of like your dream movie? If you could be in any movie, what would it kind of be?
I would probably pick an Audrey Hepburn movie which was the movie Sabrina, which had Humphrey Bogart in it.
Sabrina, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
No, it's
okay.
This old school, probably like 1940s movie, Audrey Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart, and there was another guy, but God, who can remember next to Humphrey Bogart, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, but basically it was about this girl who grew up really, really poor and was like a maid, or like her dad was a butler, and she was just used to climb up on this tree and look out at these parties, like this handsome boy and like all his rich girlfriends, and she would just wish she could be like at the party. And then she goes to France and like gets a new identity and comes back, and this guy is like, oh, who is this girl? And she's like, you know me, like I'm your neighbor, literally, like my dad deals with your cars. And then he like falls for her, but the brother is more genuine. And she kind of starts falling for the brother, Humphrey Bogart. And it was his job to distract him from the other brother, because he was like, she can't come into our rich family and just ruin things. Like, I'm a businessman. And then he started falling for her because he was a businessman that never like felt the love and affection. So that would probably be a movie that I'd want to remake, but it was already remade in the 90s and botched. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but like, it's just not an Audrey Hepburn movie. Everybody always compares, you know, like they're like, she's cool, but she's just not Audrey Hepburn. And
so what made you love Audrey Hepburn so much? I think we all kind of like have our inspiration, at least like right now. Like what connected you to her other than just like, you know, the beautifulness? Like, did you used to like watch interviews of her and stuff like that?
I've definitely watched documentaries, but that was mostly in like later in life. But I think what I really loved about her is that she was very classy. Way more classy than I could ever portray as an actress, because it's just not who I am. You know, she just had a very, and it sounds, from what I've like read or watched, it sounds basically that she had to put herself through like, you know, language and stuff like that, or speaking classes.
Oh,
and,
is she not from America?
I think she was actually from Germany, like through the Holocaust and stuff. I could be wrong though, so don't quote me on
Okay,
that.
I won't
But
quote you.
I'm pretty sure she dealt with some stuff. I think it was actually Holland, but I could be wrong. But she, her, like back in the day, like old school talking was an art form. So they would talk, and when they would talk, it'd be like, "So, how are things going with you? Is
Yeah,
there
I noticed
anything
that.
else new that I could talk to you about?"
Why did people talk like that?
It was definitely much like it was a trained art to like influctuate like up and down and up and,
And that
down.
was like the proper way of speaking back
Yeah,
then.
and it was a movie thing. In the
Oh, okay.
movies,
Yeah,
they
I
would
know. When I watch
always
older
talk
movies,
like
they always
that.
Even the men did that.
And it's because it just sounded so like interesting and different. So
yeah, I
I
agree.
really was interested in that. I thought, wow, that's so like, to think like you have to memorize lines, you have to look a certain way, and then you're basically singing, talking. That's why people love the old school films, is it's singing, talking.
That's true. Yeah, it's definitely like a different world. I always just thought that people talked like that. Like back in the 40s, like that's just how English was. They just talked like that. You know, I don't know. It's crazy.
There's a really funny movie called Arthur. I don't know if you guys seen that. It's from like, I think the 80s or 90s. Dudley Moore's in it. And one of the scenes, he's like, "What are you doing here? And why are we talking like this?" And that totally reminds you of the old school films.
So Amanda, so you're also a hairstylist. So when, I guess my question is, well, you still do it all. You're a hairstylist, you're an actress, and you are an amazing makeup artist as well that I recently just discovered. You did my makeup and Saving Grace. Is acting, do you still like plan on doing all three and kind of like intertwine them, or do you have like a personal preference that you...
I think it's really important to feel like I'm not working, you know, to feel like when I do hair, I'm doing hair because it's fun, and I really do want to make other people feel beautiful from the inside out. And if I can make that appearance look good, and also using like color contours for people's face shapes and doing all that, it makes me happy to make other people feel good. And then I feel like if, you know, with acting and stuff, like that's great and super fun too. But I feel like if you really do only one thing, you start getting burnt out and you're like, gosh, I gotta go do this. Like, I never want to feel like I have to go do something. I want to feel like I want to go do this, you know? So maybe one day if I became a famous actress, I would just have a little party bus come and drop off all my clients and get them all done up in the
So if
mansion.
you become a famous actress, are you still going to do hair? You think hair is always something you're going to love to do? Or I know since like that's your day job kind of, and that's like what you do on the side and for weddings and all of that, are you kind of getting burnt out on doing hair? And
No, I really
No.
do like it. It's super fun.
well, you're great at it. So.
Thank you. I just love to, you know, I think it's really, really important, especially now, like in this time period of like so much superficialness and stuff, to, you know, not only help people look good, but help people feel good. And I think that's a big reason why I want to do acting, actually. It all kind of circles around, because I'm not a perfect 10 by any means, and I still want to be portrayed as a real human and to feel like self-love towards myself, and I want like other people to feel that towards themselves as well.
And to everybody listening out there, Amanda is a licensed hairstylist and makeup artist, which I know is really hard to come by.
Especially here in Iowa, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
People are
definitely.
always looking
So,
for.
you know, hit her up if you're needing, you know, a hairstylist, makeup artist. Reach out to Amanda because she is absolutely amazing, and we'll have a link to all of her stuff once we release this episode, or when we release
Yes,
right now,
absolutely.
because you're listening to it right now and it's
Yes.
released. So you'll have access to
Check
all of
on-
her personal or how to contact her. So Amanda,
Yeah.
so I personally feel like when it comes to acting, I direct, produce, write, but acting is like my strong suit. And I've already said how it's like an escape from reality for me. Do you feel like there was a moment in your life where like the actress was born? Like, do you remember like a specific moment in your life where like you kind of like realized you're doing something out of the norm, like you're like reenacting something you've seen in a movie and you're like, holy crap, this is what I want to do. I need to do this.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I used to like go on long family trips, and I would play these stories up in my head and stuff like that of just like, oh wow, that'd be a really interesting story if that happened. And because before technology, that's pretty much what everybody did, I guess. And but like as you get older, you kind of forget about passions and stuff. You look in the big book about what you want to do when you grow up. And I wanted to do hair because I used to do everybody's hair back then too. I did theater, I did hair, all that stuff. And I wasn't good at it back then though. Disclaimer, sorry for everybody that had black hair. But I remember when I was in beauty school and I was a natural at doing hair, and a bunch of my teachers were saying, you one day could go to Chicago and you could work at one of the high-end salons. You are talented. And there was this girl, and she had a shaved head, and she was really skinny, and she was blonde. She was really pretty. One of those girls that's really pretty with a shaved head, which is super rare. And she was like, I'm moving to California to be an actress. And she was a friend of mine, but I remember thinking like, oh, she's not
She's not good enough.
yeah, she won't
make it.
But then I remember thinking, why am I jealous? Because she's like, I'm so good at hair. Like, the teachers told me I was good at hair, And I was raised Catholic, so I was like, I'm going to pray and figure out, like, now I'd say I'm more spiritual, but I'm going to pray to the higher power and kind of figure out why I didn't feel completely fulfilled for whatever reason. And then I had a weird dream, and I like woke up and like I had this dream. I saw like some people I knew, and I was trying to wave to them, and one of my guy friends was like, you don't know them, why are you waving at them? And I was like, yeah, I do. And he's like, no, you don't even know yourself. And I was like, okay. And I believed this guy, and I was like, okay, like I thought I knew him, but I guess I didn't. And then I saw my mom, and I was like, oh no, like I know my mom, like that's my mom. And he's like, you don't know her, you're crazy, you don't even know what you're talking about. And I was like, okay. And I believed him again, even though I knew in my heart that that was my mom. And then I woke up and I saw Kelly laying by me, my hubby, and I was like, I'm sorry, I had a weird dream. It was my subconscious mind communicating with me, telling me to write a script about this. Well, then I wake up for real in the morning, and I was like, hey, sorry if I woke you up in the middle of the night talking about some subconscious mind stuff. And he was like, no, you never woke me up. So it was a dream I had. And at the time I was bartending going through beauty school, and I had told a random bar client about this dream, didn't even know the client. And then within 2 hours, he came back and brought me a screenplay writer's Bible that was like a $30 book. And he was like, just have it for free. Wow. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna write this script. And I spent hours and pages writing the script, and then it became circles and circles of characters that don't even make sense and had nothing to do with the dream. And then I was like, let's turn it into a short film called Eden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so you were the writer of that then?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then in that film, I was like, oh, wow, I guess my acting skill wasn't like how I remembered.
My dream.
Yeah. Dang, I was a star in my dream, but...
Well, that's crazy, because I think Dylan and I often talk about, like, what is it, where we can see what we want to be and we kind of dream it into existence. I know that you're a big believer on that,
Yeah,
right?
so I practice the law of attraction, and there's this amazing book called The Secret, where it's all about manifesting anything into like reality. And just to kind of make things simple, if anybody is interested in it, look up The Secret. You can Google it, YouTube it. So many amazing like philosophers on YouTube that preach it and stuff to help you practice. But yeah, and my favorite quote is, if you can see it in your mind, you will hold it in your hands. And you know, I'm a strong believer in it. As soon as I started practicing the law of attraction, my acting career blew up. It's made me into a better person. It made me see life a lot differently. And it's about like having positive energy. You need to get rid of all the negative energy in your life.
Yep, I as well have researched the law of attraction too.
Yeah, and I think you're kind of a big believer of that as well, right? And that's kind of happened with you in your dream, where you wanted to be this actress, and where everyone was kind of pushing you back. You know, you said, I'm going to go, and you did it. And, you know, you're here, and you've been working pretty hard. I think you're always, like, auditioning for stuff now, right?
Yeah, I always put myself out there, and 90% don't get anything, but 10%. It's that 10%, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I think I really noticed that when we were doing the 48-hour film festival, how passionate you were about acting and everything. That's why we've worked together on everything, just because I enjoy working with you so much, because I can definitely see that passion in you.
There's a lot of celebrities that practice the law of attraction that swear by it. And then like Albert Einstein believed in the law of attraction. All these successful people, William Shakespeare, because there's a lot of research done where like they pull up like old documents and they talk about manifesting things into reality and the law of attraction. And that's why it became The Secret, because it was like stored away. It was like it was like hidden from society, because people kind of like abused it. And like, you know, bad people, unfortunately, I mean, the law of attraction works for anyone. So you can use it, you know, for evil ways too.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. That's a no. But yeah, no, they locked it away.
Oh, there comes no reply out.
They locked it away for a reason, because it works, and a lot of greedy people don't want other people to succeed. So I mean, Amanda practices it. I practice it. It works. So yeah, definitely look into that, people.
I think the law of attraction in action, meaning you can visualize things, but if you don't put the action behind it, it's just thoughts and dreams. And yeah, so if you go out and, you know, work towards those visualizations, then yeah, for sure, 100%.
It's not going to be handed to you. You can't like tell yourself every day you want to be an actor and expect to wake up the next morning an actor. You have to work for it, and that's the hardest part of it all. But it's not hard if it's something you truly want.
So I'm just curious on what like a typical day would be for you trying to find roles. Are you like constantly kind of going through these Facebook pages trying to find something, or since you've been in a lot of stuff, do people come to you? Like, what's your process of finding these roles to continue your work as an actress?
I would say no one will ever come to you. Ever.
Well, unless you're Dylan.
Unless you're Dylan.
Unless you're Dylan.
If you're just a regular person, I think that I'll look for castings. I go on backstage, and I just put myself out there. And 90% of the time, I get no's, and the 10%'s a yeah. And sometimes those are minor roles. But I always think that if you can play a really good minor role, everybody's like, gosh, why don't we see more of that person?
Yeah, and it happens for sure.
Yeah, so if you play the best minor role, people want you to be the star.
Yeah, I mean,
I think people will come to you, Amanda, and you do a great job with marketing your stuff. The only thing I would have to say is, you know, just crank that up a slight notch, because you do it already. And it's like we always go back into the whole networking thing. I mean, Michael obviously reaches out to you. You're going to meet a whole bunch of more Michaels. I guess that would be like don't get comfortable working with just one group of people. Yeah. Because if you like span out and work with all these other people and show them what you're worth, they will continue to come to you. So I mean, it's gonna happen, Amanda. I that's the only thing I disagree on, is that people will come to you. You just gotta, it'll happen. You're already doing everything right. Just gotta, I guess, really work with, wait for your opportunity to work with other production groups. And there'll be plenty of more people like me and Michael that are just gonna like write a script and instantly have you in mind. It's gonna happen.
Well, that's kind of what I always go back to that random weird dream I had. It's actually called a dream awakening. When you seem like you're waking up from a dream, it seems so real. I thought I woke up. I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry I woke you up. And then it was a dream. It was crazy. I had to look that up because I never even back
You were shook.
in those days, I never used the term subconscious mind. I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
So that was something that was told to me in a dream, which is super weird. So I'm just waiting on that one big script.
Hey man, it's gonna happen. Or we're gonna continue to work together. We're gonna make one badass script, and we're gonna make a big old film, which would be dope. So what do you kind of have going forward? Is there anything you're working on that you're kind of excited to start? Or are you writing any? I know you said you're writing the Golden Chiffon. I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
That's all good. Well, we just wrapped up the fantasy fashion show.
And I know you put a lot of work into that. So not only did you get all the people booked, you did the hair, you got us to film it, you did this big, you produced it practically, you did it all. How straining was that on you? Did that scare you away of being a producer of things?
I mean, I probably got like 3 hours of sleep. I did my own hair and makeup in between clients when I could. And I chomped a lot of gum.
Okay.
So I would say it was very, very expensive fun.
Yeah, so my significant other, Samantha, she was a model for your fashion show.
Ow!
Yeah, and she killed it, man. By the time this comes out, you can check it out. What would it be on your Facebook page? Or
It'll be on
YouTube?
the Vlassi page as
Okay.
well as on YouTube.
Do they have a YouTube as well?
I think that we'll just put that right over there.
Okay, got you. Yeah, so we'll link it so you guys can check it out. But I videoed it.
Yeah.
I was a
Videographer.
and I edited it, and then yeah.
And
so
it
you
was
can-
awesome, and the visuals were great.
Thank you so much.
We kind of went with like a raver vibe, which was fun. Upcoming projects is a feature film called Charcoal Skies.
Is that going to be here in Iowa as well?
Yep, it'll be filmed in Cedar Rapids.
Did you get casted in that?
I did get casted.
Oh, congrats. I auditioned and I had never heard back. So, it happens. You
It
can
does
do
happen.
thousands of films and you're not going to land them all. So, I got over, but no, congrats. That sounds
you.
a
That's
lot of
cool.
fun.
I just played a side girl.
Have you already shot it?
No, but they're gonna be putting it out. I think the scene's gonna be September 27th through October, something like that. But I'm just a very minor role of a showgirl.
A showgirl. Tell me what a showgirl would be. 'Cause in my mind, I'm thinking a stripper.
I mean, I can't lie. I was excited about the costume and the hair and makeup because that's just the industry.
Right.
So I'm not really sure. I think it was like this girl that's like, you took my shoes. Like, you know which ones.
Okay.
So I just had to play kind of a diva. So, and it's a very short scene, which was great because I really can't dedicate so much time when my schedule, you know what I mean, is full.
Pretty booked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, as we're kind of wrapping things up here, anything you want to promote? I know you got an Instagram page.
You guys can look me up on Indie Actress Girl.
There you go. I'd say you almost post daily, right? Or
Yeah,
practically.
I try to, but
she's pretty constant in the content area.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, before we let you go, Amanda, anything inspirational? So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, you've been inspirational through this whole thing. But for the people listening that want to get into the film industry,
Or for that little girl like you were who wanted to be an actress, whoever out there that needs inspiration, what is it?
I started wanting to be a singer, but I was tone deaf, so I'm just kidding. Mediocre tone deaf, anyway.
Okay.
Inspirational wise, I would say there is a role for everyone, and the acting industry isn't ageist. There are different roles for any age. No matter if you're 60 years old, there are 60-year-old stars out there, and One one television show I'm really into right now is called Schitt's Creek.
Oh yes, dude, I'm watching it right now too.
It is so hilarious.
It's so good.
Yeah, and the two main characters teamed up together and produced it together. I believe they're both producers.
Wow.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, but I saw that on the credits. So
yeah,
they've worked in other films.
Watch Schitt's Creek. It's good.
It's so good, and
good.
it just goes to show, like, you can be any age, and there are rules out there for you if it's something you are passionate in. And if you're not passionate in it, don't hate on people that are.
There you go. Don't be a hater.
Don't be a hater.
Let's end it with that. Don't be a hater.
Be a lover.
All right, guys. Well, that is the end of Amanda's episode here.
Episode 3. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Good night, and we love you.